Man, I still can't wrap my head around this whole thing. 3 years later, and I'm still trying to figure out how I managed to screw up this badly. My name's Jake, and I lost $12 million. Not to some fancy Wall Street scam, not to hackers, not even because the market crashed. I lost it all because I couldn't remember 3 passwords that I created myself. 3 passwords. You know what's really messed up? I used to be the guy who'd check his car door 3 times before walking away. The guy who kept every single receipt organized in folders. The guy who backed up his laptop every week without fail. But when it came to protecting the most money I'd ever see in my lifetime, I have no idea what I was thinking. Actually, that's not true. I know exactly what I was thinking. I thought I was too smart to mess this up. I thought I had it all figured out. Let me tell you how this disaster started. Because it didn't happen overnight. It took me years to build up to this level of stupidity. Back in 2017, things were simpler. Bitcoin was this weird internet money that only tech nerds cared about. I was grinding away at some startup in Austin, pulling in about 60 grand a year. Had my little 1-bedroom place, drove this Honda Civic that was older than some of my coworkers. Life was fine, I guess. Then Marcus shows up with his latest obsession. This dude was always chasing the next big thing. One week it was VR headsets, the next it was some app that would supposedly change everything. So when he starts going on about Bitcoin, I'm thinking, here we go again. Jake, man, you're sleeping on this, he tells me over beers one night. This is bigger than the internet was in '95. Get in now, or you'll hate yourself later. Yeah, right? Marcus said the exact same thing about those ridiculous Segway things in Google Glass. Remember those? But something about his tone was different this time. He wasn't just talking anymore. I just bought 2 Bitcoin, he told me one day over lunch. Cost me about $8,000. $8,000. That was more than I had in my savings account. I thought he was absolutely insane. But then something started happening. Bitcoin started climbing. Not slowly, not gradually. It was like watching a rocket ship take off. Every day, Marcus would show me his phone with this huge grin on his face. Up another 300 a day, bro. Another 500. Another 1,000. I started doing my own research. Late nights, diving deep into blockchain technology, reading white papers, watching YouTube videos about crypto trading. The more I learned, the more convinced I became that this wasn't just some bubble. This was the future. December 2017. I'll never forget that month. Bitcoin was everywhere. You couldn't escape it. My barber was talking about it. My mom was asking me about it. Even my landlord mentioned he was thinking about buying some. That's when I knew I had to get in. I scraped together $2,000. And when I say scraped, I mean I literally took every penny from my savings account, which wasn't much, and put the rest on my credit card. Yeah, I know how that sounds now. But back then, it felt like the smartest thing I'd ever done. Bitcoin was trading at around 15 grand. Everyone and their mother was predicting it would hit 100,000 by the end of 2018. Some people were saying even higher, 200,000, 500,000. I spent weeks researching how to buy it properly. Read every article I could find about wallet security, private keys, cold storage. I was paranoid as hell about doing it wrong. I even bought a hardware wallet, this little device that looked like a USB drive but cost me like $60. The actual buying process was nerve-wracking. I remember sitting at my computer at like 2 a.m., double-checking every step, creating my wallet, writing down the recovery phrases on paper, testing small transactions first. I was so careful it took me 3 hours to buy $2,000 worth of Bitcoin. But I did it. I was officially a Bitcoin investor. Those first few weeks were insane. I'd wake up every morning and check the price before I even got out of bed. 2,000 became 2,200, then 2,600, then 3,000. By the end of January 2018, my $2,000 investment was worth almost $6,000. I tripled my money in 6 weeks. That's when everything changed. That's when I stopped being careful and started being greedy. You know what happens when you taste success like that? You want more. You need more. It becomes this constant itch you can't scratch. I started putting more money in. Every paycheck, every bonus, every tax refund. I opened accounts on multiple exchanges. Coinbase, Binance, Kraken. I was diversifying, I told myself, being smart about it. But really, I was just feeding an addiction. The crypto market in 2018 was wild. It would crash 30% in a day, then rally 50% the next week. Most people would call that volatility terrifying. I called it opportunity. I learned about leverage trading. For those who don't know, leverage basically lets you borrow money to make bigger bets. If you have $1,000 and use 10-to-1 leverage, you can trade like you have $10,000. But here's the catch. Your gains and losses are both amplified. I started small, 2-to-1 leverage, then 5-to-1, then 10-to-1. The first time I made $5,000 in a single day using leverage, I felt like I was on top of the world. I called in sick to work just to sit at my computer and trade. I was making more money in a day than I made in a month at my regular job. That's when I started thinking about quitting my job and becoming a full-time crypto trader. 2019 was my year. At least, that's what I thought at the time. I had quit my job in March. My boss thought I was crazy. My parents thought I was crazy. Hell, even Marcus thought I was pushing it too far. But I couldn't see anything except dollar signs. My trading account had grown to about $200,000. I was living in a nicer apartment, driving a BMW, eating at expensive restaurants. I felt like I was finally living the life I deserved. The thing about the crypto market is that it rewards confidence. When you're winning, you feel invincible. Every trade seems obvious. Every dip feels like a buying opportunity. Every rally feels like validation of your genius. I started a YouTube channel, Jake's Crypto Journey. I would post daily videos about my trades, my strategies, my predictions. I gained a few thousand subscribers pretty quickly. People started asking me for advice, treating me like some kind of crypto expert. Man, the ego boost was incredible. Here I was, a guy who'd been making $60,000 a year just 2 years earlier, and now I was giving financial advice to thousands of people on the internet. I started talking about becoming a crypto millionaire. Not if, but when. I had it all mapped out. By the end of 2020, I'd have my first million. By 2025, I'd have 10 million. By 2030, I'd be retired on a beach somewhere, living off my crypto investments. The funny thing is, I wasn't even wrong about the market. Bitcoin did continue to rise. My portfolio hit $500,000 in late 2019, then $800,000 in early 2020. But here's what I didn't understand at the time. The higher you climb, the farther you can fall. This is where the story gets really stupid and painful. By 2020, I had cryptocurrency spread across multiple wallets and exchanges. I had Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, about 15 different altcoins. I was diversified, I thought. I was being smart. But managing all these different accounts was getting complicated. I had passwords for my exchange accounts, passwords for my wallet software, recovery phrases for my hardware wallets. It was a mess. I knew I should have been using a password manager. Everyone told me to use a password manager. But I was cocky. I thought I was smart enough to handle it myself. So I came up with what seemed like a genius system at the time. 3 base passwords, each one modified slightly for different types of accounts. Password A for exchanges, password B for wallet software, password C for the really important stuff, my cold storage wallets. Wrote them down on this little piece of paper, stuck it in my desk drawer. Figured if I ever blanked out, I could just check the note. But here's where I screwed up. I kept tweaking these passwords, adding a number here, changing a symbol there, making them more secure. And did I update that piece of paper? Of course not. I was too smart for that, right? I'd remember the changes. My memory was rock solid. I used these passwords every single day. No way I'd forget them. Man, if I could go back and slap my past self. You can probably see where this is going. March 2021 was when everything changed. The crypto market went absolutely insane. Bitcoin hit an all-time high of over $60,000. Ethereum doubled. My altcoins were going to the moon. I remember the exact moment I became a millionaire. I was sitting in my apartment, watching the markets, and I refreshed my portfolio tracker. Total value, $1,247,000. I screamed. I literally screamed with joy. I called my parents. I called Marcus. I posted on social media. I was a crypto millionaire. But I wasn't satisfied. Why would I be? The market was still going up. Bitcoin was heading toward 100,000. I was sure of it. Ethereum was going to 10,000. My altcoins were going to make me rich beyond my wildest dreams. So I did what seemed logical at the time. I leveraged up. Big time. I borrowed against my crypto holdings. I took out loans. I used every bit of leverage I could get my hands on. By May 2021, I was controlling positions worth over $5 million. When Bitcoin hit its peak of almost $65,000, my portfolio was worth over $12 million on paper. $12 million. I was 32 years old, and I was worth $12 million. I started making plans. I was going to buy a house, a nice car, maybe a boat. I was going to travel the world. I was going to prove to everyone who doubted me that I was right. But first, I wanted to take some profits, secure my gains, be responsible. That's when I realized I had a problem. I hadn't logged into my main cold storage wallet in almost 6 months. I'd been so focused on trading, on the daily ups and downs, that I just left my biggest holdings sitting in cold storage. When I tried to log in, the password didn't work. I tried again. Maybe I'd mistyped it. Still didn't work. I tried the variations I thought I might have used. Added numbers, changed symbols, tried different combinations. Nothing. I went in my desk drawer and pulled out the piece of paper with my passwords. But like I said, I hadn't updated it in months. The passwords on the paper were old versions. I started to panic. This wallet contained about $4 million worth of cryptocurrency. But I told myself it was fine. I had other wallets, other accounts. I could still access most of my money. That's when the crypto market started to crash. It started slowly. Bitcoin dropped from 65,000 to 60,000, then 55,000, then 50,000. The financial media was calling it a healthy correction. I told myself the same thing, but it kept falling, and falling, and falling. By the time Bitcoin hit $30,000, I was in full panic mode. My leverage positions were getting liquidated. My $5 million portfolio was down to $2 million, then $1 million, then $500,000. I was getting margin calls left and right. I needed to add more money to my accounts to avoid losing everything. But most of my money was in that cold storage wallet I couldn't access. Look, I tried everything. And I mean everything. Hired some data recovery guy who charged me $3,000 just to tell me what I already knew. Spent another $2,000 on some password recovery specialist who basically just ran the same software I'd already tried. I even went to a hypnotist. Yeah, You heard that right. Some lady in a strip mall who claimed she could help me remember forgotten passwords through regression therapy. Cost me $400 to sit in a chair and listen to whale sounds while she asked me about my childhood. Nothing worked. Nada. Zip. That wallet just sat there in the blockchain, taunting me. For $1 million worth of crypto that I could see but couldn't touch. Like having a winning lottery ticket locked in a safe with no combination. The crash wasn't just about money. It was about identity. For 3 years, I'd been Jake the crypto guy. I had thousands of YouTube subscribers hanging on my every word. I was the dude who'd made it, who'd figured out the system. Now I was just another sob story. Another guy who got too greedy and lost everything. Moving back in with my parents at 32 years old was probably the lowest point. My mom trying to be supportive while obviously thinking I was an idiot. My dad not saying much, but I could see the disappointment in his eyes every time he looked at me. Had to sell the BMW. Had to cancel the lease on my apartment. Had to take the first job I could find. Customer service at some software company. Answering emails all day for 50 grand a year. From crypto millionaire to living in my childhood bedroom in about 6 months. The American dream in reverse. The worst part wasn't the money, though. It was the shame. I had been so public about my success. I had a YouTube channel, social media followers, people who looked up to me. And now I had to admit that I'd lost everything because I couldn't remember 3 passwords. 3 passwords that contained $12 million. I've had a lot of time to think about what went wrong. And yeah, the obvious lesson is about password security. Use a password manager. Write down your recovery phrases. Keep multiple backups. Don't be an idiot like me. But the deeper lesson is about greed and hubris. I got so caught up in the gains that I forgot about the risks. I thought I was smarter than the market. I thought I was different from all the other people who had lost money in crypto. I wasn't. The crypto market gave me opportunities one never could have imagined. It took a guy making $60,000 a year and turned him into a millionaire. But it also taught me that what the market gives, it can take away just as quickly. I also learned that success can be just as dangerous as failure. When you're winning, you stop being careful. You start taking bigger risks. You start believing your own hype. The saddest part is that I was actually right about a lot of things. Bitcoin did go up. Ethereum did go up. The crypto market did revolutionize finance. But being right about the big picture doesn't matter if you can't manage the details. Those 3 passwords I forgot? They contain more money than my father made in his entire career. More money than most people see in a lifetime. And I lost it all because I thought I was too smart to write things down properly. So here I am, 3 years later. Still in that same customer service job, still getting yelled at by people whose software won't work. Still living with my parents, though I've finally saved enough to maybe get my own place again soon. You'd think I'd never want to touch crypto again, right? But here's the weird thing. I can't stay away. Not because I'm addicted to the rush anymore, but because I actually learned something from all this mess. I buy $20 worth of Bitcoin every week now. $20. My old self would have laughed at that. Why even bother? He would have said. But you know what? That $20 a week has slowly grown into something decent over the past few years. I use a password manager now. Revolutionary concept, I know. All my passwords are different. All my recovery phrases are written down in 3 different places. I'm basically the most paranoid crypto investor you've ever met. My YouTube channel is still going, but it's completely different now. Instead of how to get rich quick with crypto, it's more like how not to lose your life savings like an idiot. Not as many subscribers, but the comments are more real. People sharing their own screw-ups, their own close calls. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I just bought my $2 grand worth of Bitcoin in 2017 and forgotten about it. No trading, no leverage, no fancy strategies. Just bought it and left it alone. I'd probably be sitting pretty right now instead of trying to rebuild my life at 35. Want to know the most messed up part? That wallet is still sitting there. Right now, as I'm telling you this story, there's about $6 million worth of crypto just existing in the blockchain. Untouchable. I can look it up anytime I want. I have the wallet address memorized. I can see every transaction, every time the value goes up or down. It's like having a window into an alternate universe where I'm rich. Some nights I still lie awake thinking about it. What if the password was my college girlfriend's middle name? What if I used the date I got my first job? What if I added 4 numbers instead of 3? But I've been down that road 1,000 times. I've tried every combination I can think of. I've hired people smarter than me to try combinations I can't think of. That money is gone, even though it's technically still there. It's the weirdest kind of loss. Usually when you lose money, it's gone. Spent, stolen, disappeared. But this is like losing your house keys when the house is right there in front of you. My therapist says I need to stop checking that wallet balance. She's probably right, but I can't help myself. It's like picking at a scab. One thing that's helped me not completely lose my mind is finding other people who've screwed up just as badly as I have. There's this whole underground community of people who've lost access to their crypto wallets. We found each other through Reddit, Discord, random forum posts. We call ourselves the Lost Coin Club. Sounds like a joke, but it's real. And it's depressing as hell, but also somehow comforting. There's this guy David who lost access to a hard drive with 8,000 Bitcoin on it. 8,000. That's worth like $500 million now. He forgot the password to encrypt the drive and has been trying to crack it for over a decade. Sarah accidentally threw away a laptop with 50 Bitcoin on it back in 2013. She's literally been to landfills with metal detectors trying to find it. Imagine explaining that to your family. We share stories. We try to help each other. We have video calls where we just vent about our stupidity. It's like AA for crypto idiots. Hi, I'm Jake, and I lost $12 million because I couldn't remember 3 passwords. The craziest part is that my story isn't even the worst one. There are people in our group who've lost hundreds of millions. Makes me feel slightly better about my measly 12 million disaster. The hardest part isn't even the money. It's the constant replay in your head. Every single day, I think about those passwords. What if I'd written them down properly? What if I'd used a password manager? What if I'd just been less of an arrogant idiot? I went to therapy for a while. This nice lady who specialized in financial trauma. Yeah, that's apparently a thing. She kept telling me I needed to process the loss and move forward. Easy for her to say. She didn't lose $12 million. The thing is, it's not like losing money in a normal way. If I'd been scammed or hacked, I could be angry at someone else. If the market had crashed and I'd lost everything, I could blame the market. But this is just pure stupidity. I did this to myself. Some days I'm fine. I go to work, I hang out with friends, I pretend like I'm just a normal guy who made some bad investments. Other days I can barely get out of bed because I'm thinking about what my life would be like if I could remember 3 stupid passwords. My parents try to be supportive, but I can tell they don't really get it. It's just money, my mom says. You'll make more. But it's not just money. It's the life I could have had. The security, the freedom, the ability to never worry about bills again. I've tried meditation, exercise, new hobbies. Some stuff helps for a while, but then I'll see Bitcoin hit a new high and I'll do the math on what my wallet would be worth now, and I'm right back where I started. The ironic thing is that the technology that cost me $12 million is the same technology that made it possible for me to make $12 million in the first place. Blockchain technology, the foundation of cryptocurrency, is designed to be secure and decentralized. That means no central authority can reverse transactions or recover lost passwords. It's a feature, not a bug. If I had lost $12 million in a traditional bank account, I might have been able to recover it. Banks have customer service departments, password recovery systems, ways to verify your identity and restore access to your money. But cryptocurrency is different. It's designed to be trustless, which means you're your own bank. You have complete control over your money, but you also have complete responsibility for keeping it safe. That's both the blessing and the curse of cryptocurrency. It gives you financial freedom, but it also makes you responsible for your own security. So what's next? Hell if I know. I'm 35, living with my parents, making 50 grand a year answering customer service emails. Not exactly where I thought I'd be at this age, but I'm working on it. Slowly paying off the debts from my trading disaster. Saving up enough to get my own place again. Maybe even go back to school and learn something useful. I'm also writing about this whole experience. Maybe it'll become a book someday. Maybe it won't. But it helps me process everything. And maybe it'll help someone else avoid making the same mistakes. The crypto stuff? Yeah, I'm still doing that. Very differently now. I buy a little bit every week. I use proper security. I don't trade. I'm basically the world's most boring crypto investor now. I still believe in the technology. I still think Bitcoin and blockchain are going to change the world. I just don't think I'm the guy who's going to get rich from it anymore. Maybe that's okay. My YouTube channel has a few thousand subscribers now. Not the millions I used to dream about, but they're engaged. They comment. They share their own stories. They learn from my mistakes. It feels more meaningful than the old days when I was just bragging about my gains. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd never gotten into crypto at all. Would I be happier? Would I be further along in my career? Would I have a family by now instead of being a 35-year-old guy living in his childhood bedroom? But you can't live in the past. Trust me, I've tried. Look, I'm not going to stand here and pretend this story has some beautiful ending where I learned to be grateful for what I have and money doesn't matter. That's bullshit. Money does matter. $12 million would have changed my life forever. But here's what I will tell you. If you're getting into crypto, or if you're already in it, learn from my stupidity. Don't be the guy who loses everything because he was too proud to write down his passwords properly. Use a password manager. I don't care which one, just use one. Write down your recovery phrases and put them somewhere safe. Don't use leverage unless you really know what you're doing. Take profits when you're up. Don't let greed override common sense. I was smart enough to recognize that crypto was the future. I was smart enough to get in early. I was smart enough to make millions. But I wasn't smart enough to keep it. The crypto market is still wild. Bitcoin is still going up and down like a roller coaster. New technologies are coming out all the time. There are still opportunities to make life-changing money. But there are also still opportunities to lose everything. The same technology that made me rich also made me broke. The same decentralized system that gave me financial freedom also took it away when I screwed up. I'm not trying to scare you away from crypto. I'm trying to scare you away from making the same mistakes I did. The market is brutal, but it's also full of opportunities. Just don't be an idiot like me. And if you are thinking about getting into crypto, or if you're already in it and you're getting a little too confident, remember my story. Remember the guy who had $12 million and lost it all because he couldn't remember 3 passwords. Don't be that guy. Be smarter than I was. Be more careful than I was. Be more humble than I was. The blockchain doesn't care about your story. The market doesn't care about your regrets. And $12 million is a hell of a lot of money to lose over something so stupid. So what do you think? Are you going to learn from my mistakes, or are you going to make your own? Let me know in the comments. And if this story helped you even a little bit, share it with someone who might need to hear it. The crypto world is better when we all learn from each other's screw-ups. Trust me on that one.